Jimmy Fallon cancels appearance after Kimmel's show gets cut. We won. Congratulations. Winning now does not mean winning forever. You may invade and conquer great lands, and one day those lands may be conquered back. But when Jimmy Fallon cancels an appearance after Kimmel's show gets cut, that means I'm going to give you my opinion on this one. It's all opinion because we don't actually know what happened. He was supposed to do some event and he canceled it. It sounds like ABC had an emergency meeting. It sounds like these networks had an emergency meeting and said, all hands on deck. We got to discuss what you are doing on your shows. And I think what we're likely going to start seeing is these late night shows drop the political games. We got this from NBC News, CNBC. FCC Chair Carr says we are not done yet after Jimmy Kimmel's suspension. I bet all these networks just said we cannot go to war with the government. So shut your mouths. And I say, okay. I know the left is going to be like, but free speech, it's so chilling when the government is doing. The FCC has always existed, has always regulated what network television can do with their access to the airwaves. And it is not the same thing as, say, look, Jimmy Kimmel, start a YouTube channel, buddy. Be like Don Lemon. Ain't nobody stopping you. But if you want access to the public airwaves, you are regulated by the FCC, and I ain't crying about it.
And there used to be a general consensus about what was acceptable and what wasn't. There were outliers. I mean, I remember when Howard Stern was perceived as like totally outrageous, crazy. You know, we've got to shut him down. They tried to bring him to Richmond, and all the conservatives in Richmond freaked out, and he actually didn't survive in Richmond. But he was an outlier. Now you look at it, and you think there isn't a general consensus about what's acceptable. And the difference between broadcast TV, broadcast radio, and everything else on the internet blurs that line. What people will accept is different today. The stuff that people regularly consume online would have people would have had heart attacks and died 20 years ago.
I think we're just in yet another situation where the left is writing fan fiction about what's happening that I wish were reality. And they're talking about how the government is chilling speech and they're the culprits behind all of this. And then if you actually look into the story, the FCC, at least according to the information we have now and according to what Brendan Carr has said, the FCC was not the catalyst for any of this. It was the affiliate stations. It was from the bottom up. It was private companies. And they were private companies standing up to conglomerates. It had nothing to do with the government catalyzing this whole chain of events. I do wish it were the government, though. I do continue wishing that, like, who Trump portrays himself to be in tweets and Truth Social posts were reality, but he's not actually serious when he says, like, let's shut the people up who are giving me unfair coverage. Like, it's not serious.
I'm gonna make it real simple for everybody. What is a government? Who wants to answer this one? Phil, what is a government?
Well, I mean, it's an organization, at least in our country, that's voted on by the people in order to do certain basic things. In my opinion, the role of the government is to protect property rights, make sure that there's a military to protect borders, and provide courts for redress of grievance. And as far as I'm concerned, that's about all that I think the government should be doing. All right.
I mean, the general idea of government is controlling authority structure over a nation, its borders, and its people. And in the United States, I think you are largely correct as to how it operates. So I agree that's what a government should be. It should be a structure of the people for the purpose of protecting the rights of the people and ensuring that those rights aren't infringed upon, ensuring protection from external forces, in which case, my view on all of this is very simple. As I've stated before, there are two different worlds occurring within the same country. This is a conversation that has been had for almost 7 or 8 years now, and it's a conversation I did not bring up. Many individuals and academics have pointed to the fact that there exist two different countries. Stephen Marsh, I cite quite regularly, a smart man, despite being a liberal and we disagree. He is a smart guy on this matter, much more learned than I. And he said, there are two countries existing within the borders of the United States, a multicultural democracy and a constitutional republic. And he said, I am of the multicultural democracy. And I said, interesting. I am of the constitutional republic. In which case, the answer is quite clear. If my government drops a bomb on someone like Soleimani, I don't care. I mean, I'd prefer that he doesn't do it. I know Elaad's over here nodding like, come on, let's
prefer
go.
that we do it.
My point is, when the U.S. government engages in military actions for the betterment of the interests of the country, the questions that I have are these justified? Is the appropriate use of force? I don't go, oh, heavens me, they murdered somebody. I say, this is war and military, right? Here's a better example. The social media platforms all say that advocating for violence is an immediately bannable offense. However, if you went on your social media platforms and say Donald Trump was correct in dropping a bomb on Soleimani and blowing him up, you would not be banned. Because even YouTube agrees the context of the terms of service and the calls for violence only applies within a nation. Now, we are not yet at the point where I would say we have a manifest to different distinct countries by which that rule would apply internally. As it would apply to the FCC, that's exactly how I feel. So when they come to me and they say, but Tim, free speech, and I'll say, sure, and I don't really grant freedom of movement to terrorists in Iraq or Afghanistan. I don't think the U.S. should be there. But this is my point. You would not grant freedom of movement to Russians in Ukraine, despite not being anywhere near there. My view is largely, we have a government of for and by the people. It's us. They're not us. They seek to destroy us. They are an entirely separate system. They don't believe the same things we do. They don't believe in the same laws. And they're willing to lie to steal power, cheat, and even kill someone like Charlie Kirk. When I see this government engaging in actions that is within the Constitution, but is shutting down the illicit speech, and I mean like the threats of violence and all that stuff, I'm not going to cry about it. I am not going to cry when Jimmy Kimmel gets his show taken off the air, even though I do agree with people having the right to free speech, because these people are trying to destroy us. And as they say, all is fair in love and war. If it's a culture war, then so be it. I am not going to reach my neck out and defend evil people. And so long as the Trump administration and the current government is protecting us as Americans, and I'm not even playing that heritage American game. All Americans, even people who immigrate here, I know may or may not agree. Someone comes here right now, they literally just landed on a plane, and they've got a legal visa, and they say, you know, in 1 year, you'll have finalized your citizenship, and that person is protected as well. These liberals, the left, are advocating for non-citizens to cross the border and be constitutionally protected. That is a violation of our social contract. I am not going to protect those that do not exist in the same world as we do. My government is for us, the American people, and these people are clearly acting outside of that when they murder, lie, cheat, steal. And what did Jasmine Crockett say? Committing a crime doesn't make you a criminal. That quote's going viral right now. So when you come to me and say, but Donald Trump is doing bad things to all of these people, I'll say they're not Americans, right? I'm sorry. And I'll stress, he's not even doing anything unconstitutional. So I'm not going to even normally, in a normal circumstance, if Trump, the FCC said we're going to go after this show or whatever, I'd be like, we got to be careful about slippery slope. I ain't slippery slope in anything. These people aren't us. Jimmy Kimmel lying to the American people about the political leanings of a shooter to justify the murder of Charlie Kirk. There's no slippery slope defense or anything for me. I'm going to say, oh, that sucks for you. And it's not even the FCC that did it. It was advertisers. So spare me your lies. I'm done playing your games. I won't defend you. And if Donald Trump goes and starts arresting Antifa, I'm going to be like, okay, they're terrorists. Sorry. I watched a guy in Black Bloc throw an explosive at an 80-year-old woman when I was in Berkeley 7 years ago. And you mean to tell me that's protected speech? I'm not playing these games. Trump, go arrest all of them, and I ain't going to cry about it.
And it's refreshing that people on the right are finally coming around to that realization, growing up a little bit and realizing that when you have power, you do need to wield it, especially if you want to keep it and you don't want to be oppressed. These people cannot be taken at face value. It's just the constant, look at their hypocrisy, look at the left's hypocrisy narrative. That discourse just has exhausted all of its value. It's not worth calling out their hypocrisy anymore.
People on the right thought that this was all just going to shake out. Like, if we just stay cool, it's going to shake out. And I'm really tired of seeing decent people who do have some sort of standard and morals and polite nature being played and having their good intentions used against them. And so at some point, without devolving into a nation that's at war with itself. I think we're close to that already, unfortunately. I mean, I'd like to be one of the people to try to stop that from happening on a regular basis, but we've got to send a message that we're not going to tolerate this. I told somebody the other day, don't complain about a young person who thinks it's okay to shoot someone over political disagreements when in Virginia, John Hinckley Jr., who shot Ronald Reagan, is walking around Colonial Williamsburg with no problem. I mean, we let him out. We said, "Oh yeah, you were crazy back in 1981." So, but time has gone by. We're going to let you walk around. I think that sends a signal. We're not serious about this. We don't really. If you could shoot the president and 30 years later you're free to go play your guitar in the local bar in Williamsburg and nobody says anything about it, that sends a signal to everyone.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.